Since YouTube's launch back in 2005, there's been a fair share of creepy and just plain odd YouTube channels. Allowing anyone who makes an account be able to upload videos is both a blessing and a curse. Channels like Shay St. John, Marble Hornets, David Firth's Salad Fingers, and my personal favorite, Alan Tutorial, uploaded an abundance of content in the late 2000s into the early 2010s. Even YouTube's WebDriver torso had a conspiracy associated with its seemingly off-putting messages for quite a few years. While a vast majority of these weird YouTube channels have been debunked, deleted, or have simply died out, one channel has flown under the radar and still continues to upload massive amounts of unsettling content. In fact, it's speculated that this person has uploaded well over 100,000 videos in the last 10 years, and still counting. 2008 marks the beginning of Anna Matskevich, or as the internet knows her, Refbatch. She's a seemingly schizophrenic Russian woman terrified of Putin, the Kremlin, and the KGB, otherwise known as the Committee for State Security, believing that they're specifically targeting her and her husband. While many have speculated who she was and why she had uploaded over 30,000 videos by 2012, much of her life and content spoken about in her videos is still a mystery. In the summer of 2014, YouTube terminated her original Refbatch, Refbatch 2, and Refbatch accounts from the platform, along with the said 70 to 80,000 plus videos due to copyright claims. A majority of these accusations came from her own name, though it's unsure whether she accidentally made these claims or YouTube just terminated her account falsely. However, this doesn't mean that Anna stopped posting to YouTube. She's made multiple other accounts, including her current ones, You Don't Know You Know, You Know You Don't, and a channel under the name Alexander Diuma 2012 at mail.ru. Her You Don't Know channel has amassed over 41,000 uploads since mid-2015, while her second channel under Alexander has almost 3,000 videos since 2014. So who is Refbatch? And what is she trying to tell us in the hundreds of thousands of videos that she's uploaded over the past 10 years? Though there is no records that have come out confirming her actual age, it's assumed from multiple sources that Anna is now around 53 years old. Between 2012 and 2014, on her Steam account that now seems to be defunct, she posted small snippets about her life in Russia. She was supposedly born in Moscow and has lived there ever since. As for her parents, she alluded to them being musicians, saying, "I'm a professional musician and the daughter of a musician, composer, and teacher of VGIK, which is a cinematography institute in Moscow." In addition to this, people have found sources related to the possibility of her being a professional dancer back in the 2000s, which could be plausible considering her said music background and her yoga dancing mixture that she presents oftentimes in the woods. However, since she states that the siege of her family began in 1995, which I'll explain more in depth in a minute, I'm skeptical to believe this. If it was her last dance competition was in 2008, around the time that she began her YouTube channel. But I don't know if the Russian Federation would have let her compete in a world dance competition for multiple years. As of this recording, I haven't been able to find any of her partners online either, other than on the dance sites, so I cannot tell if they're around her age or not. She speaks often of a rape case from a past mayor. When the siege of my family began in 1995 for trying to force me into having sex with the ex-mayor without my knowledge and consent, they put pressure on my father. There is no evidence to whether or not this is true, but it would explain her distaste for Russia and the feeling that she's not free. She states she never received justice for this case either. Judging by her full name being Anna Matskevich, we can assume her father's name is Yuri Matskevich. If you're unaware, the way that many Slavic names work is a first name and then an otchestvo, or a patronymic name, that's taken from the father's first name. For females, Yevna or Ovna is added to the ending of the patronymic. When searching for a Yuri Matskevich that was a musician and also taught at VGIK, I found this. While I can't be sure if this is Anna's father, it would fit with the description she gave of her family members. Plus, he worked with Andrei Tarkovsky, which I found interesting. Not only because he is one of the most notable Russian filmmakers, but also because there's a conspiracy that Andrei was eliminated by the KGB after making what was considered anti-Soviet propaganda. Anna mentions on her Steam page that there was some sort of pressure and punishment put on her father from the Luzhkov organization. Lezhkov was the mayor of Moscow until 1982, so although her words are vague, she seems to be saying that her father, Yuri, was punished and bullied by the government as well as the rest of her family in the 80s and 90s. It's possible that he could have been bullied for his same sort of anti-Soviet propaganda in the few small films he composed for back in the 50s and 60s. This could be where the said mistreatment all began, although that's just my theory. As for her mother, Anna implies that her mother was murdered in this post. In the same way from the Lezhkov organization, and tried to force me to sign papers against my husband Belov M. about the fact that he allegedly killed my mother for Zakin and using grief and funeral. As you can see, she speaks about the fact that Lezhkov administration tried to frame her husband Maxim Belov for the murder. She also states that the administration stated that Belov murdered her for someone with the surname Zakin. There's not much information on this death if it ever did happen, nor is there any news surrounding Maxim Belov ever being charged for murder. Considering that some of the things that she talks about are far-fetched and hard to believe, this could be a paranoid delusion, and her mother just could have died of natural causes or of another disease. In 2014, Anna was detained in a mental institution. Maxim was the one who broke the news in a series of letters explaining why she was taken away and what the government was supposedly doing to them. Thankfully, Maxim's English is a lot better than Anna's, so it's easy to understand exactly what happened. On the 15th of August 2014 at 2:30 p.m., Anna Matskevich was detained by local Moscow police of Kuzminki district and forwarded to a psychiatric clinic because of slander against her by pro-Islamist teenagers. In any case, Maxim and Anna still seem to go through torture by the Russian Secret Service, and according to her, he's not allowed to leave the country nor be treated like a regular citizen for unknown reasons.
Put this before the announcement last week. They tried to evacuate me to the country. Blackmail said the emotion videos and family my right on my civil life.
I think the background of Refbatch's life is important to understand to be able to comprehend who she is today and why she speaks on the things that she does. At first glance, Anna seems like a schizophrenic Russian woman who has paranoid delusions about the Russian Federation being out to get her and her husband. And honestly, that's what I believed at first too. It's easiest just to accept that someone speaking on topics such as the Secret Service denying them food and poisoning them for speaking English probably isn't mentally stable. However, an essay written in 2011 by Jackie Wang about Refbatch sums it up quite nicely. The more I go through her material, the less I feel like this woman is crazy, and the more I recognize her lucidity and profound and mind-blowing truths contained within her messages. Her entire article dives deep into Refbatch's earlier days, and it's a fantastic read, especially if you want to know more about the things that she used to post. I'll link it in the description, and I definitely encourage you to read it. So on that note, I wanted to just take a look into some of Anna's content and try to piece together the various topics she speaks about in her 100,000 plus videos. Unfortunately, her oldest content from her original channel is no longer able to be found, but people have noted the fact that back in 2012, she seemed to be fairly normal, gradually appearing sicker and sicker. The posts she writes on Steam during that time definitely attest to this, as they have minimal grammatical errors and were generally easy enough to make out the gist of what she was talking about. However, she does post about already having been hospitalized and mistreated back in 2012 and also in 2010. This remains true today, according to an article from 2017 in the Globe and Mail stating, "In many of these cases, psychiatric hospitals are far worse than prisons, as the victims are forced to take psychotropic medicines that cause mental instability and change their behavior, subjected to psychiatric imprisonment and in some cases, forced drugging and physical abuse." In the videos that are up on her Alexander channel prior to her second hospitalization, she appears calmer, although clearly protesting. Her videos are a constant mixture of English and Russian throughout this time, and she speaks of wanting freedom and her right to live freely in Russia.
Dispute my right on life, a right on face. A right to face is of course important, the most. And I have other what to do, what to say. If I only leave house earlier, on time, or come on time to times.
She stands in public, often protesting to a crowd of no one. And though she may not be heard, it's clear that she feels she's not safe or free in Russia. Then, in 2014, the second hospitalization happens. Today, on the 19th of August 2014 at 10 in the Moscow Psychiatric Clinic number 13 was court hearing about forcible psychiatric imprisonment of Anna Matskevich, who was blowed by criminals and the police after that detained and forwarded to the clinic. The judge, Mr. A.S. Medvedchov, Moscow local Lubinsky court, didn't try to listen. That Anna was attacked by hooligans, by who blowing blocked her in the post office and called police, which also blowed Anna after arrival. The judge didn't try to listen to anything, didn't pay any attention that the staff of the clinic already used some very strong psychomedicals against Anna Matskevich. As a result, the so-called judge made a decision about forcible treatment of Anna Matskevich in the clinic, which in Soviet time was used by KGB against dissidents. I'm going to appeal the decision of local Lubinsky court of Moscow. Yours sincerely, Maxim Belov. I must also mention she has a seemingly strong hatred for Islam, repeatedly bringing up in her descriptions that she fears what they'll do to the country of Russia. During this time, small snippets of Anna surface in the hospital. She seems drained, and as the descriptions would suggest, they're stripping her of her rights and forcing her to take medications that she feels she doesn't need. I want to precursor this part by saying that this is only my opinion and it should not be taken as a reliable source. I'm not trying to diagnose Anna with any type of psychosis or otherwise. This is just what I perceive from the information that I was given from her channel and her Steam. Assuming that Anna was fed psychosis drugs in the hospital and used for experiments, as Maxim states, I do believe that there is a possibility that what happened to her in the time at the psychiatry ward did cause her to experience increased delusions, paranoia, and therefore a possibility of schizophrenia. While she may have had strong paranoia against the government before, I do think that there's a chance that they wanted to strip her of any coherent thoughts so that nothing she said would be taken seriously by any of the other citizens of Moscow or Russia as a whole. Is this far-fetched? Possibly. But this is a torture method along with physical torture. After being released from the hospital, Anna can be seen with physical markings on her nose and her face in 2 separate videos. It's clear that someone is taking advantage of her, be it the government, people on the streets, or her own husband, as she does state in one video that her husband can't be trusted either. From the time she's released from the hospital in 2014 to the present, there's been over 40,000 videos released by Anna. And as they go on, she becomes angrier and angrier. Her words start making less and less sense, and her ramblings in Russian and English are almost entirely incomprehensible. What changed between the summer of 2014 and now? Within the hospital, something must have happened to make her lash out in anger in almost every video, aside from the moments of peace where she hastily does her yoga dance routine. She speaks now of also wanting to move to America, and she shows support for Donald Trump, believing that he'll be the answer to Russia's problems. In some ways, I wonder if her life would be different for her if she were able to find a way to America and a place to work. Please help me. They're going to isolate me and shut me up and to use me under fabrications tried in Holland. I could not do anything. I will just disappear. Please escape me from these gerbils experiments. Listen to me. I will die. He wants to deprive me of contact. He is abnormal total. He is afraid of everything. He is like a child. I am dying. Please, take me to USA. I will work for you. Please, escape me from this horror. I do believe that while Anna is not completely mentally stable, she has endured some terrible torture by the Russian government. Whether that's because of a covered-up rape case, the murder of her family, or just simply because she defies the government is still unknown. It's doubtful that it'll ever be known unless Anna comments on it herself. With most only brushing her off as simply an insane woman with no real logic, I fear she'll continue to decline and wear down until ultimately being done away with. While I started this analysis trying to figure out the meanings behind what Anna was saying, I instead found the unfortunate life of someone who's been continuously mistreated and never given a chance to live in what she believes is freedom. She's ignored by the rest of the world, abandoned in her own country for disagreeing and speaking out about the unjust. Although I don't agree with some of the things she believes in or totally believe her claims of the Secret Service mistreating her family, I do have a deep sorrow in my heart for Anna. Refbatch. Because I know that she'll never be able to see another way of life in her lifetime. Before I go, I did want to mention a couple things. As I'm finishing this up, I realized that a YouTuber Atrocity guide put up an analysis on Refbatch the day after I began my researching. I didn't realize this until way later, and I truly apologize for that. She does make some deeper analyzations into Refbatch's state of illness, and overall did a great analysis video, so I definitely recommend that you watch her video as well. That being said, I'll end the video here. Please let me know your thoughts on Anna Matskevich, and if you have any suggestions on cases, humans, or events that you'd like me to look into, please let me know. I'm always welcome to new ideas. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.